All right, welcome back to the garage. On the last episode, I pulled that Turbo 350 transmission off of the engine here. And in this episode, I want to try and test fit this Tremec TKX to the engine. I picked up a pile of parts over here. I've got a flywheel and a clutch. Let's pull this out and take a look at this stuff. All right, here's what I've got. I've got a new flywheel. This is a Performance World part number 363500. It has multiple bolt patterns for an array of clutch assemblies. This is a McLeod Super Street Pro 11-inch. It comes with the throwout bearing, pilot bushing, and alignment tool, as well as the clutch plate there. Let's fit that thing on that thing and keep going. Now, as I look at the back of the engine here, I notice there's already a pilot bushing installed here. I wonder if this engine had a manual transmission behind it once before. Probably. That would explain that guy. I'm going to try and test fit this with that in there. Whenever it comes time to actually put this on, I want to change that. Either use the new pilot bushing or get pilot bearing to go in there. But we'll see. We'll slap that flywheel on there and see how it goes. Okay, first problem, the flywheel won't fit exactly. The hole in the center here is a little too tight on this register right here, and I think it's because this has had some tools on it at one time. You can see there are marks on it there. There are marks on it down here and marks on it down here, and I think that's causing a little bit of a burr, not allowing that to go on there. I've got a little bit of emery cloth. I'm just going to smooth that out as best I can all the way around there and see if we can't make that guy fit. I'm getting it. It's kind of going on there, but needs a little more work with that emery cloth to fully seat. I could probably tighten the bolts on it and suck it in, but then I'd never get it off. So I want to make sure that it goes on and off easy, so then I don't have to struggle with this later. So keep hitting this with some emery cloth and get her smoothed up there. Okay, I'm getting the end of this crankshaft polished up. It's looking real good, and then I'm also working on the flywheel over here a little bit. I don't know if you can see, but this edge here is chamfered. And I think whenever they did that, they left a little bit of a ridge just around the inside of that. So what I'm doing is I'm taking, this is a spray paint can lid, and I wrap the emery cloth around it, and it fits in there pretty snug. And then I can just wipe that around just like that and take that ridge off there. So let's get this all finished up and get that flywheel thrown on there. Okay, now I've got it so the flywheel slides on and off. It's still pretty tight, but it goes on there and it comes off there, so that's good. Next thing I can do is pull this bell housing off the transmission here and mount that up. I'm not going to worry about the clutch right now because I know that it fits the flywheel, so it's just going to be in the way. I'll leave it off for now and try and fit this. Okay, I kind of got the bell housing bolted up here. There's a problem. The shoulder on these bolts won't allow them to go in on this side and over here. I grabbed just a smaller 3/8 bolt that doesn't have the shoulder on the head. It goes in, but you can't get a socket on it. It's too tight. I read some reviews on Summit, and some people had said they used Allen head cap screws instead of bolts in these two locations. I'm going to see if I can't pick up a couple of those and see if I can't make that work, because these bolts right here, not going to do the trick. Other than those bolts not going in, I think it's a pretty good fit. I had seen a review that said their flywheel hit it, but mine, if you can see in here, it's really close, but it's not touching, so that should do all right. I'll keep on trucking. Okay, before I stab the transmission in there, I want to take some measurements and make sure that that pilot bushing is pushed in there far enough to allow the end of this input shaft to slide into it and it not to hit this other area of it and prevent the transmission from going all the way in. I've just set up a straight edge across here, and I can stick my tape measure in. It fits right in the pilot bearing. See what the measurement is here. It looks like just under 6 inches. Okay, and that measurement over here on the transmission input shaft means that pilot bushing is going to sit right about there. I think that'll be just fine for this little mock-up that we're doing, and we can go ahead and slide this thing in there. Okay, here it is all mated up. It's just test fit in there for now. whenever I go to do it for real, I will be centering that bell housing, make sure that it's centered, put dial indicator on there, and they make offset dowels so that you can push it over, you know, a couple thousandths of an inch. Make sure that it's nice and square so that this all lines up. But for now, it's just lightly bolted together, and you can see how that input shaft goes into that pilot bushing there. And there's lots of room between the end of the shaft and the pilot bushing, so no problems there for now. But yeah, this is her all set up. I think it looks great. Hiya! So while she's all mated up here, I'll go ahead and throw my makeshift tram gauge on here so that I can see exactly where the shifter sets in relation to these mounting holes. If I take my tape measure right about there, I can see it's about 9 1/4, 9 1/8, something like that. I'll take accurate measurements and then be able to transfer those over to the transmission tunnel and find out exactly where my hole should be. Okay, using that tram gauge here on the floor over the bolt holes, find me the center of the tunnel here, and I can mark up where that hole needs to go. I'm not going to drill that just yet, though. I'm going to go work on something else. Yeah, what I want to do next is pull this engine off here so I can see what I'm dealing with, as well as that'll allow me to get rid of this subframe so that I've got more room to work in here. So let's get this all pulled apart. Okay, I've got the tranny pulled off here. I want to get this engine stand mounted up here, but I need to go get shorter bolts. These bolts are just too long and not going to work for me, I don't think. So I'm going to run to the store in a little bit, but first I want to pull this alternator, start pulling the accessories off here, as well as the exhaust manifolds. Start with the alternator. It's just got a bolt here. There's a bracket that bolts to a stud on the water pump, if you can see that down in there. And then as well, there's a single bolt down here that runs through it, and it's attached to this bracket that mounts to that exhaust manifold there. So pull off a couple bolts here and get that alternator out of the way. Okay, alternator's off there. It's in the box. Next, I'm going to pull this fan here. It's just these 4 bolts. Should pull all that off there. And then I'll do the power steering pump. There's 2 bolts back in there. There's an adjustment back in here where you can tighten the belt, stuff like that. So loosen all that up, take all that off, get it ready to go in the box too. All right, fan came off without a hitch. The power steering pump, I've got to access the bolts to the back of it, and I can't quite get to it just yet. So I'm going to go ahead and yank this exhaust manifold off here. There's just 6 bolts on that guy, and it'll be out of the way. Okay, the exhaust manifold's off there. There wasn't any exhaust manifold gasket. There was just rubber sealant on here. I also pulled the power steering pump. It's got 2 brackets on it. The lower bracket mounts to the block right there, and the upper bracket, which is for belt tension adjustment. Here, bolts between the motor mount and the engine. You can see that down in there. So this side's all off. Let's go ahead and jump over and pull the exhaust manifold off the other side. All right, passenger side manifold is off there. Came off without any problems. I'm really happy with that. I thought for sure I'd break a bolt off, but no, it came off there. I've got to pull this grounding strap, and then I can run to the store and grab bolts for that guy. Okay, I got the back side of this engine stand mounted up nice and solid. Got some bolts for that. I figure while it's sitting here stable as it is, I should go ahead and just strip it down. It means pulling the starter, pulling the distributor, pulling the carburetor, and then as well the fuel pump, and then probably the water pump as well as the valve covers. Pull all this stuff off here, make it as light as possible so that I don't have any problems. But first, I've got some boxes ready to go, and I've also got a bunch of bolts over here. I wanted to show you guys real quick how I organize my stuff. You can take a look at this bag of bolts and be like, oh yeah, those are exhaust manifold bolts. So you get 2 randos in a bag, and you're like, what the heck is that? So what I like to do is Ziploc everything and put a little post note in there with an explanation and perhaps a diagram, help you put the thing back together. So it should be no mistaking those bolts go in that space for this application. But I'm going to get this stuff kind of cleaned up and then start yanking that stuff off of there. Okay, I'm about to pull the starter off, and I just wanted to show you guys this is a starter for a 168 tooth flywheel. You can tell because it has this bolt pattern here. This bolt is right here, and the second bolt is back here. If it were a 153 tooth flywheel, there would be a bolt here and then a bolt here in the front. You can see in the block where that bolt would come through. But that's how you know what you have for a flywheel. All right, starter's out of there, and here's a neat thing. See how those bolts are knurled? Right there, just on the shoulder. That's to make them stay in place whenever this thing's bolted up. I never knew that. But anyway, let's pull this distributor here. I pulled the cap off of it, got it out of the way, just a little plug and the 4 little things. And it's got a bolt holding the hold down right there, so loosen that guy. The vacuum line here runs up here to this port on the carburetor. Just want to make sure that I document where that went whenever I go to put it back together. It'll be useful information, I think. Just like that, it's out of there. Looks not too terrible. A little dirty. A little fouled on the rotor there just a bit, but all in all, not in bad shape. Should work again, maybe. Okay, distributor is going to live in the box for a little while. Let's pull this carburetor off of here. This is a Rochester Quadrajet. It's very similar to the carburetor that's in the Firebird. You can see the numbers on it here on the side. This one has an electric choke, whereas mine has a mechanical choke. This thing's mounted on a spacer. This may actually be an adapter as well, based on this empty bolt hole out here, but there's 4 nuts on it, 2 on the top here, and then 2 at the back there. Also got the fuel line right here, and then the crankcase vent right in there. Let's pull those off there, get this out of here, and see what we're dealing with. Let's see if I can pull this off one-handed. Oh, come on, come on, come on. Nope, it took 2 hands, but it's off there. Now then, I don't know anything about this intake or this spacer. I'm going to have to do a little bit of research, but I'm pretty sure that this intake was made for a different carburetor, different style. But I'll do some research and see what I can come up with. Okay, carburetor's off there. Holes are all sealed up nice and tight. Don't want any dirt getting in there. We can pull this fuel pump off here. It's just got the 2 bolts on it there. And yeah, we should be getting there. Okay, fuel pump came out of there without any drama, except for the gasket kind of disintegrated a little bit on it. Shouldn't be a big deal. I'm going to go ahead and pull this water pump off here. It's got a bolt here and a bolt here. And then same thing, 2 more bolts on the other side. Just there and there. So get those off there and pull that guy, and then we're just about done. Okay, water pump's off there and out of the way. It's looking pretty good. Can't complain. Next will be the valve covers, which is just 4 bolts on either side. Then I can rig up my chain and hoist here, and then I can loosen the motor mounts. Let's do that. Okay, I decided to keep the valve covers on to try and keep the this area clean for now. I did go ahead and unbolt the motor mounts on both sides, made up my chain. It's ready to pick this thing up. I'll set you up on the tripod so you can see what I'm doing. Okay, gonna jack her up just a little bit. See if we can't get those motor mount bolts out. Yeah, I'm gonna need a little punch those out. That one's out. All right, let's pick her up a little bit. Now let's pick her all the way up. Might need a little pry bar. That side's free. That side free. Okay, we got a dangling engine. see how she sits. So far, so good. That thing's heavy. I'll tell you that much. She's freaking heavy. All right, the engine and subframe are now officially divorced. They can go live separate lives, happily ever after apart. I'm going to end this video right here while I clean up in here and try and find homes for all of this stuff that I've got laying around here, and then I can work on something else. But thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time. Cheers.